All right, and we are recording. So,
very nice.
In 3, 2, 1.
Are we live?
No.
Okay.
Just doing a hard recording. It's too crazy. What's up, guys? Welcome to BitCast episode 65 for the week of January 13th, 2019. I'm your host, Jake Martin, and in the studio this week we have Landry Smith.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me, Jake.
Oh, 1 second.
Yo.
Get my, oh, jeez. We have these new Fed heads, and I feel like I can hear everything that I'm saying almost too much.
Same here, man. Yeah, it's coming through loud and clear.
It's kind of gross sounding. So if you're if you are listening later to this and you don't like how it sounds, let us know. We'll tone it down. But thank you so much for tuning in. This week we are talking about our favorite games of 2018. That is something that we did not actually do before the end of 2018. But hey, we're only about 2 weeks removed.
Not too bad.
So 2018, I feel like, was one of the stronger years in video games we've had in a while. And
well, 2017 was pretty awesome too.
It was pretty excellent too. Yeah, those are the two that I think of. But yeah, I wanted to run through our top 10 favorite video games. And the criteria for both of these lists are a little bit different. But before we do that, if you are tuning in and you're listening to the show, be sure to leave us a review if you want to on iTunes or Spotify. I don't even know if Spotify has reviews or not.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't seen any, but I also haven't looked for them very hard either.
I don't listen to podcasts on Spotify.
Me neither.
But it's cool that it's on there. So
nice.
check it out if you want to go there. And be sure to check out our weekly newsletter coming next week. Every single Tuesday, we'll be sending out a newsletter of just our most recent blog posts or reviews or podcasts and just a brief breakdown. If you've ever listened to or read The Hustle, do you know what that is?
I don't.
But it's like a weekly newsletter that's business related.
Okay.
And it's about business stuff. But ours will be about video games.
Very nice. I like that
the
idea.
News. So yeah, if you want to, I think I already have about 80 subscribers to that newsletter, but I hadn't wanted to send it out because you have to have an actual physical address associated to it, and I didn't want to send out everyone my home address. So yeah.
I understand that.
Yeah, I passed on that one. So anyways, if you are a listener of the show and you want to listen to that, we'll have the links in the show notes of this as well as on the site. You can check it out, bitbloggist.com. And Landry, you recently just made a Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze video review.
Yes, yeah, and created a YouTube channel. It's Uncharted Rupee. Please go and subscribe. I've got 2 subscribers because I literally launched the video last night. So
I realized I haven't subscribed yet.
Dude,
I'm a terrible friend. I'm a terrible friend.
It's like me and my wife are my only subscribers right now. So,
dude, so what are some takeaways from making your first video review? You said you learned a lot.
I learned a ton. So I made an entire first video and I watched it and I was like, this just isn't good at all. So I scrapped it all and I started from the beginning. I learned how to make title cards and everything and just kind of put in little animations that it's just basically, really the whole editing process front to back on Premiere. I'd used Premiere, but it's been about 5 years and the program has completely changed. So
it's a lot too. Premiere is very overwhelming.
Yeah. There's a whole lot in there and there's so much that I didn't get to use. So I'm really excited to continue to learn the ins and outs of it. It took me at least 8 hours to make a 9-minute video, so
totally worth it.
Surely I'll be able to trim that down as I get better, and I'm able to maneuver the software a little better. So
yeah, I want someone that's really proficient in video editing to give us some pointers and just say, hey, here's how you actually speed the process up. Here's how you extract audio faster.
Right.
Boom, boom, boom. Because I feel like anytime I'm editing video, I'm going very slow and I'm doing things in the least efficient way possible.
Same here. And I'm so much concentration on it. Liz will be in the kitchen and she'll call for my name. I'm just like, not now. I can't do anything right now.
You're so zoned in.
Focused in on it. So
and really all you're doing is just tweaking. You're just cutting little small fragments of a video.
Exactly.
This is very important. I can't forget to do this. So anyways, that's really cool, man. If you guys want to check that out, it's at his YouTube channel. Say it again.
Uncharted Rupee.
Sweet. So yeah, check it out there, and then if you want to, I'll just probably drop it into your video review on the side as well.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Thank you. Places. And I don't know if we mentioned this. It's a review of Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, the new Donkey Kong Country game on Switch. Well, new. It came out last May.
Yeah.
But
new for a lot of people.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So.
But like I said, we are talking about the games of 2018, and I wanted to say that our drink of the show today also is just water.
LaCroix over here.
LaCroix
I'm a little
fancy water.
Yeah.
And Costco unfortunately has not refreshed their stock of Kirkland Light, so the Dirty Kirks are on hiatus for a long time.
Fair enough.
I think they go through like deals with different what would you call them? Breweries, essentially. Yeah. I think big name breweries will basically sell them beer, but it's unlabeled and it's something a little bit different. So you don't really know who's actually making it. You're like, okay, is it Bud Light or is it?
I've heard that, but I've actually some of them are quite nice.
Yeah, they're pretty good. Yeah, so if you want
I've had some pretty bad ones as well.
Yeah, they're not. Yeah, be careful with Costco beers because they can be bad also. But like I said, we're going to be talking about the games of 2018, so we will be right back. Transition. Hold on a second. Let's build water.
Okay. Dude, my neck is killing me.
What did you do?
I slept weird somehow, and then I was trying to fix it and messing around with it yesterday, just kind of popping it, and then it just doubled down the pain. So, well, it's all right. My dad's a chiropractor. I need to just find some time and go get adjusted.
So I'm having this weird pain on my shoulder where it's my shoulder and my arm. It kind of feels like it's going numb sometimes.
Oh no!
Which is a slight fear of heart attack.
Yeah, that's not good.
Or severe diabetes, but then it also could be just a nerve that's pinched somewhere up here.
Certainly.
So I'm hoping it's that. Because last night,
lose situation.
Yeah, but last night I was pretty uncomfortable and also stressed out because I was like, am I having a mild heart attack right now or a stroke? Who knows?
It's probably a pinched nerve. I mean, at your age and. You seem to be a healthy fellow, so
I don't do anything healthy though.
Yeah, well,
I just had 4 Oreos before you came over here.
Yeah, my eating habits are horrible. I try to work out, but sometimes I let that go too.
We're looking at getting the Y membership. I'm pretty excited about that.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
nice.
baby.
I love the Y. They got a basketball court. I miss that about my gym.
I suck at basketball, so one thing. I guess did you want to do honorable mentions first?
Yeah, let's do that.
And then go through 10 through 1, essentially 10 down to 1.
I have 3. Honorable mentions. How many do you have?
I have 4.
Okay, perfect.
All right. So since you are the guest, how about you start us off?
Okay.
Honorable mention number 1, or just go through all your honorable mentions.
Okay. I'll just throw them all out there. So my honorable mentions are Hollow Knight, The Messenger, and Dead Cells. A little indie trilogy there for you.
All good games.
They're all really good games. They really are. Hollow Knight was a game when it first came out, and I can't remember if it was 2015 or 2016. I saw it, and I was like, this is a game for me. I cannot wait to play this game. And it was really good. I basically watched 3 seasons of The Sopranos while I was playing it. And I never would have gotten through it if I hadn't had The Sopranos to kind of watch while I was getting it because I got lost.
It's kind of a drab game, too.
It's you spend 30 minutes in that game, and 15 of them, you have no idea where to go.
Yeah.
The next 15, you're like, oh, this is so amazing. I'm making all these new discoveries.
But then you get stuck again.
And then you get stuck again. But the thing that kept me coming back, I appreciated the art style. I thought it was really unique. Obviously, the enemy designs, there's 237 of them. All the bosses are different. All the movesets are different, too. It's really, mechanically, it's a very sound game. But getting lost that much is just, it's too much. It's too much. And I think that game, this is also with Dead Cells and The Messenger. I think all 3 of these games could have been trimmed down probably almost 50%, and they would have been better off for it.
Dead Cells is certainly is a slow burn. You really struggle the first couple of hours of that game because you're not strong enough yet, so you keep dying in the first 3 levels.
Right.
And those bosses will freaking kick your ass if you're not.
Will
if you're not ready.
My thing with Dead Cells was the first 8 hours I was so engaged. I was like, I love this game. I can't wait to get back in and play more. And then hours 8 through 16, I'm just, this is the same thing over and over and over again. I've played this first level at least 35 times now.
I do wish they had implemented a feature where you could drop or at least warp back to a certain point in progress. Because
that would be very nice.
I think Rogue Legacy allowed you to revive or restart at a certain point. Have you ever played Rogue Legacy?
No, I haven't. I've heard of it, but I'm really not very familiar with it. I wouldn't be able to point it out of a group.
A similar concept. It's a Rogue Light where they have procedural rooms that are generated every time you die, and you get stronger every time you do die. So the same concept basically, but
okay,
a little more cartoony as opposed to Dead Cells, which is more like pixelated.
Right. And another thing Dead Cells has going for it is the combat mechanics are great.
No, they're so
almost
good.
Every weapon feels unique and a lot of fun to experiment with, and that's the reason that I put close to 20 hours into it. But again, I'm writing a top 13 games of 2018 on my blog right now.
Top 13.
And I think Dead Cells is number 12. And I wrote that this could be one of my favorite games of 2019, or it could be a game that I never play again.
Yeah.
Because it's I feel like I could get hooked again, but I also feel like if I never played it again, you
won't be sad about it.
I won't be that sad. I already know what's going to happen,
Yeah.
I'm going to play another 20 hours, get my butt kicked another 15, and then finally beat the game.
And it's one of the
I'm not going to see much more.
It's one of those ones where the payoff isn't necessarily the story you're getting. It's really just completing the game.
Exactly.
And so it's like, do I care to slog through the rest of this or not?
Right.
Yeah.
And I think I've seen all the environments now. I've gotten to the last level, and I saw the boss for like 5 seconds, and he destroyed me. It was
like, well, that was fun.
Yeah, I got a lot of grinding to go.
Oh,
my last honorable mention is the Messenger. Man, the first 4 hours of this game was like, this game was built and made distinctly for me. It's so perfect.
It's awesome.
And I still have a very soft space in my heart for this game. I love it so much. My problem with it was just Metroidvania burnout. After the first half of the game, you flip the switch to like 16-bit graphics from 8-bit graphics, and you're going back through all the levels you've already been through with some unclear objectives. I'm still really not certain what I'm supposed to be doing. I haven't beaten this game, just so you know. I've only beaten about halfway through.
It's okay. I still respect you.
And you have to just do the same levels over and over again with just minute changes. And I had just played Hollow Knight. I had been playing Dead Cells, and I was coming off of SteamWorld Dig 2, and I was just like, okay, I can't play this type of game again. So
yeah, you got to slow down on the.
I imagine that's another game that I'll get back into in a couple months and beat and really enjoy all the way through. But also the writing is hilarious. The soundtrack's great. It's a really good game. I recommend it. It's fantastic, but just missed the top 10 for me.
Yeah, right there with you. Yeah, it's the Messenger is a shining example of a well done indie game that didn't really have a huge team behind it and a lot of funding, but it was still excellent, and I think it made sense on the Switch. So it was a lot of people's like favorite game this year.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or one of their favorites. For me, similar to yours, Dead Cells is on mine as well. But I actually have 5 on here. So Fortnite is my honorable mention.
Very nice.
Florence, did you play that?
I did not.
The phone game, you know what I'm talking about, though?
I do know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's worth checking out. I think it's like 2 hours.
Is it free to play, or is it?
It's like $2 or $3.
Okay, easy enough.
But it's I would definitely recommend checking it out. It's a great story.
Sure.
Undertale.
Okay.
For Switch.
I almost put that on my honorable mention list, and I'd like to hear what you have to say about it. I thought that to me was a swing and a miss. I thought that game was going to be perfect for me. I probably put 5-6 hours into it. It just didn't connect with me at all.
Okay. Yeah, I'll talk about it in a second. And then Super Mario Party.
Okay.
Just barely didn't make it to my top 10.
That's very fair.
But Undertale, what I'll say about that is that game has what I thought was incredible writing. It doesn't assume that the player is uneducated and doesn't already have a back knowledge of how games are supposed to work. So like the more you've played video games, the more you'll kind of catch these subtle jokes that they're making throughout the entire game, because it's very meta in a lot of things that it does. But also there's very clever writing, a very heartfelt story. it didn't connect. That was the only thing I said. Like, everyone's like, this is a real tear jerker, and like everyone's like crying at the end of the game. And my playthrough, I was just kind of like, it ended, and I was like, oh, that was it. I was like, oh, okay. But my journey through was super enjoyable. Like, I was laughing out loud. I was telling Hannah, I was like, man, this game has incredible writing. I was like, there's just some really funny, sharp moments in here that I haven't seen in other
were
games.
A couple moments that were, like you said, really funny, poignant moments as well. And I appreciated that balance they had. But I guess my expectations were so high because people have been talking about that game like it's a 10 out of 10, like some kind of masterpiece. And to me, I was just thinking the whole time, I see why this is a good indie game and a really excellent representation of like why indie games are great. But I think people oversold it a little bit.
Unfortunately,
personally.
I hate that. I really do think that can ruin your experience if someone overhypes anything. I'm very careful now when someone asks me what I think of something. Like, if I really think something's excellent, I'll tell them. But even still, I don't use super exaggerated verbs. Like, I'm like, I'm usually I'll say it's really good. I was like, I think you would like it.
Yeah.
I'm not like, this is the best game you're ever going to play. There's nothing better than this, That happens a lot in games media, at least.
It does.
Everyone's like, go play this now.
It definitely does. That's one of my really something that irritates me about games media, too, is everyone's willingness to just give everything a 5 out of 5 or a 10 out of 10. Because I feel like movie criticism and like books criticism, you rarely ever see a critic give something like that masterpiece rating or like a 10 out of 10 or something like that, because they understand there's such a history that they're stacked up against. Yeah. And also recency bias. I mean, something you just saw might age terribly.
Yeah.
In 10 years.
You'll go back and play it again. You're like, not as good as I remember it being. Or, I mean, that happens a lot with movies. When I watch a movie.
Same here.
And I go back and watch it later, I'm like, oh, man. I remember liking this as a kid, but now that I'm watching this is not good.
Right. Yeah. And, I mean, a dumb, undeveloped brain was it when I was a child. So
yeah, so dumb.
A lot of the things I liked back then aren't that great.
Ain't nothing wrong with that. And the other ones I don't really need to talk too much about. Fortnite, I think, is super impressive. The fact that I could get into it and still enjoy it, and they offered enough for somebody like me that doesn't necessarily love online shooters anymore. I still enjoyed my time with it. I liked the Battle Pass package that they had. Kind of kept me going on something outside of just the core gameplay of Battle Royale, and it was fun playing with friends. Super Mario Party, I love this game, but it is that game is solely dependent upon having people with you to play it, which is its only downfall. Like, outside of that, it's not a great game. I mean, if you're playing just through on the story mode, it's really just kind of playing the boards and hoping you unlock characters. There's not much else to it, but when you do have friends over and everyone can kind of get into it and get excited, it's a great time.
Those character unlocks are buried too. If you don't have the internet, well, I mean, everyone has the internet, but
I don't know,
you don't look up the way to unlock those characters. It's like you're never going to be able to figure that out.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've only unlocked one, that's actually my number 10 game. So
let's just jump right into it.
A little bit.
Number 10.
And the reason being is that's one of the only games that me and my wife ever play, and we play a good bit of it. We've had some friends over and played, and when you have 4 players in a room playing Mario Party, it's a phenomenal experience.
So much fun.
It really is. It's just a blast. It's probably the best drinking game ever made.
It really is, because, I mean, like, in between your turns, they're kind of long, so you just sip on your beer and just have fun.
Yeah, and things are bound to get weirder and sillier the longer you play.
Exactly.
It's always a blast. Those rhythm games are a lot of fun as well.
Mm-hmm.
But for every great quality this game has, there's some like real well, how could you even think this is a good idea? Development design choices, like there's no way to skip a lot of the animations on the board, and it's just, I mean, it's really adorable the first few times you play. It's really, I mean, they're very well thought out, they're very well done. But when you're playing a game with even 2 people and you can't skip the other character's turns, and you've suddenly done a 10-turn game that takes 1 hour, that really you probably got about 30 minutes of playing time out of it. The rest of it, you're just kind of sitting there waiting.
They can still do this, but if they just added some quality of life improvements to this game, it'd be even better. I mean, it'd be up there with some of the more better Mario Parties.
And I'm shocked they haven't done it yet, but like you said, they still could just release like a 1.1 update.
Speed
Take
up
care
text,
of some stuff.
remove animations or cutscenes, and just that would shave down like 20 or 30 minutes of your game.
It seems like they just dropped that game and left it, which is one of the only first-party Nintendo games that doesn't have any updates at all or DLC at all.
That is true.
It's kind of annoying.
Because I was going to rebuttal you with Mario Tennis Aces, but they've at least been releasing DLC characters for it.
DLC characters, and they've updated that game a little bit too.
They've added what have they added? They added like a save mode on like the story.
Yeah, just some like minor quality of life changes, basically. Yeah,
but not much.
Not much. Yeah.
Not much. So that's your number 10.
Yes.
I think that's pretty. It's a great game though. So yeah, if you have a lot of friends around, Mario Party is an excellent game. My number 10 was Mario Tennis Aces. So kind of continuing on.
Oh, very nice.
This game actually is the opposite, where it really excels in the online department. Being able to play against people online is a lot of fun. The modes are limited, but what is there is a lot of fun to get into and just hit around for a while. Local multiplayer is still excellent, but it feels like they rushed this game out and just said, okay, we're done. Because everyone was all excited. This game had a story mode that we hadn't had since the Game Boy version. I'm like, oh, this will be great. Like just getting to play through a tennis, story mode. And there were some clever challenges. There were some neat ones where you're hitting snowballs at Shy Guys and hitting back fireballs at Piranha Plants and stuff like that. But overall, it's just, it was like just super shallow, and I don't know. They could have done just a little bit extra to try and make it feel like it was something, like you were unlocking characters or something along the way, but it was just very, very bare bones when it came to the story. And the whole package, I think, really is pretty bare bones.
Mm-hmm.
They've done a good job of updating DLC, though, so that was what we were talking about, where I do think they've done an excellent job of at least keeping people involved and saying, hey, new characters coming out this month, or this character. That's like Rosalina and Luma was last month, but I think they're done doing DLC updates now, but still an excellent game and a lot of fun on Switch.
Yeah, I actually never played that game before. Well, I take that back. I downloaded the demo. But they had like one weekend kind of trial demo.
What do they call them? Test fire?
Test fires, yes. Unfortunately, I was having some really bad internet connectivity issues, so I literally played one match and I couldn't connect again after that. So
that'll ruin your experience.
Yeah, which I mean, I was still excited for it. It's just I can't remember what I got caught up in. I had a budget the month that came out, and I think I chose Octopath Traveler or something. There was another game that I wanted, and I wound up going that way instead.
If it was between Octopath and Mario Tennis, I'd probably go Octopath. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean at the time too, Octopath was so hyped up. I was really excited about it.
Yeah, I know your thoughts on Octopath.
Yes.
All right. So what's your number 9?
Okay, so I should have given a
quick preface. Sorry,
yes.
Anyone listening. I don't know if yours is this way, but these are all games that only like I played. So there's a lot of other excellent games like Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and some games on Xbox that I don't have. So they aren't on this list. But if you are a PS4 or a Switch owner, there's a good chance that I played most of the best games that came out for it in 2018, but I still didn't play all of them. So there's definitely games that are off this list that, I didn't play, so I can't say if they were good or bad.
Same here. I was just about to say the exact same thing with another minute detail as well, and that if I was trying to give like my critical perception of the top 10, it would be different than the list I have in front of me. These are genuinely like just the games that I particularly like the most. It doesn't mean they are definitely the best games, because realistically, Super Mario Party is not as good of a game as Hollow Knight, The Messenger, or Dead Cells.
Nope.
There's a lot of there aren't as near as many problems in any of those games than there are with Super Mario Party. But to me, I was able to get a lot of joy out of that game, so that's why it's in my personal top 10 list.
These are our personal, yes. That's the way to phrase it, our personal.
And also, my list has 2 games that were not released in 2018. One of them is the 9th game, but I played it because of Octopath Traveler. I was so hype on it. The 8-character thing was great, so it got me in the mood to play an old classic that has a rotating party RPG mechanic.
Job system, all that jazz.
Exactly, and that is Final Fantasy VI, also Final Fantasy III on the Super Nintendo in America.
Oh, yeah.
I played it on the Super Nintendo Classic. I grew up playing Final Fantasy 9, 10, and 12, like backwards and forwards. I loved those games. I actually never played 7 until like my adult life, but I still think 9's better than 7 personally. But anyway, I love the Final Fantasy series. Final Fantasy 6 was awesome. I think graphically it holds up better than any of the PlayStation games. It's just the sprites are beautiful. The artwork's amazing. The story is actually one of the best Final Fantasy stories I've ever seen in a video game, period. It's really good. The writing's cheesy and campy as all hell, but it is so much fun to read. Like the way that the American team translated the Japanese text is hilarious. Like they're just, I mean, it's laugh out loud funny. Kafka is a real evil son of a gun, like great bad guy. Kind of reminds me of the Joker for his just like gleeful love of chaos and genocide, and he does some pretty messed up stuff.
It's great.
But no, it's just a really good game. It's a lot of fun, and I had a blast revisiting that.
How long did it take you to play through, you think?
It is about a 40-hour experience, I would say. It's hard to say because on the Super Nintendo, you don't really have a timer, you know, like modern day you can like check your gameplay time, but
there's not a save log on there like when you do like the hard saves in the system.
Yeah, when the way it works is like I think the way it works anyway, every time you save over something, it will record that play session's time. So it doesn't have like a
continuing clock, essentially. Right. It's just like, hey, here's where you were last time.
Exactly.
This is
what it was. Okay. Well, no, here's what it is. If you go back to the save state and you keep playing on, it'll keep that play time. But I was playing on, like, I use the save states when I have to, but I was trying to play like with the actual game save states. So I would only tap into my save states every once in a while. When I just opened the file and then saved over the save state that way, then it just like resets my clock at 45 minutes. So it's like my total playtime on that file was like 3 hours, which is not accurate. It was really closer to like 40 is what I would think.
That's very confusing.
Yeah. Sorry, I just butchered that for all you audio listeners and video watchers.
That's great though. That's cool that we're able to go back and enjoy
old classics.
Enjoy old classics on, I think, probably one of my favorite, traditional, I don't know, the SNES Classic is awesome. It's just
I love it.
Such a great retro console.
Absolutely.
Okay, so mine, number 9, this one actually really caught me by surprise, is Tetris Effect.
Oh, nice.
Did you get this game, or have you tried it?
No, I've seen some videos of it.
I need to let you try it after this. So Tetris Effect, I am not a big Tetris player. I've never really been good at Tetris, so I've always kind of stayed away from those kind of games. But I don't know what it was. The only thing I can describe it as is it felt like it was a very immersive experience is the only way I can describe it. The sound and the music in the background, like sound effects and the music, they all work to your progression. So if you're getting faster or you're dropping blocks, there's sound effects and noises and the music speeds up, and it works in progress with how far you are in your stacks. They added some simple features that I think make it easier for a beginner, where you're able to like freeze time and try to clear blocks really fast, and you get more points if you do a whole bunch in a row, which I never could do. But it was very approachable, and it made me like understand the core concepts of Tetris without feeling like I was really bad at it. However, I played on the beginner difficulty, and I still got my ass kicked like near the end. Like I died so many times, and it was beginner difficulty. So I am a little scared to go up a next level. But what this did do, and the reason I put it on my list, is because it made me want to play Tetris outside of Tetris Effect too. Like I was trying to show friends this game, like, hey, this is really cool. It's something unique. But also I got it on my phone, so I was playing Tetris on my phone a lot, trying to get better and like learn it. So it definitely gave me the bug of wanting to be better at Tetris and like learn T spins and like these different actual 4 Tetris line clears and stuff like that. So I thought it was excellent, and I think it's a great addition to the PSVR library.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. Everything I've seen about it. It almost seems like it puts you in a trance-like state when you're kind of in the groove and moving along with the music, and you can really just get in the zone and really start clearing off those lines. So I'm sure I'll play it eventually. I'd like to. It seems like a pretty cool experience, and the same game director who did Luminous.
Yes, I was gonna say it's the same guy from Luminous that did Tetris Effect, which
that
makes
had
sense.
that kind of same like
music in the background.
Yeah, exactly. Just yeah.
This one's less techno focused though. So, but yeah, Tetris Effect was excellent and really caught me by surprise.
Very cool. Very cool.
Number 8.
Number 8 for me is another old one like Hollow Knight that came out a couple years ago, and it is Inside. It just came out on Switch this year though.
So it still counts.
Yeah, and I'd never played it before. I played Limbo previously. Really enjoyed this development team. I think it's Playdead are the guys who created this.
Sounds right.
Man, this is just one of the coolest horror experiences I like saw or played or experienced this year. It was just so creepy, so intense. The atmosphere, the music, the sound effects, everything about it is just, you're on the edge of your seat the entire time.
Very uneasy.
Yeah.
Don't spoil it for me, because I do want to go back and play this. I have not played it yet.
I won't spoil it. You definitely should. It's awesome. There are few indie games that have kind of just put me in this space where you almost don't know if it's a horror game or not. It's just, they're playing with your head the whole time. Gone Home's one like that turned out not to be a horror game, but the whole time I played it, I'm just like, something's lurking around the corner. It's gonna mess me up.
And you're exploring a house, no one's there. You're like, what's going on?
And in this game, you're constantly waiting to see what's around the next corner, and oftentimes it is something terrifying. It's fantastic. I'll leave it at that. You got to play this game.
Oh, I can't wait.
And it's a 3-hour experience. You can probably knock it out in 3-4 hours. So
I don't like scary things, but I find that I really do enjoy sometimes scary games. Like I loved Resident Evil 7. Thought that was
interesting.
Great.
And that's like genuine horror.
Yeah, that's it.
This is not. This is more of a thriller type horror, like a psychological
kind of some messed up stuff happening there. Yeah.
So it's not like Resident Evil, which is like legit
jump scares and all kinds of crazy stuff. I
typically don't like that either, but Resident Evil 4 is one of my favorite games. Never played 7 yet.
4 is so good. Yeah, if you liked 4, you like 7.
Cool.
Okay, so number 8 for me would be, this is actually, I didn't realize this is how this worked out, but Octopath Traveler.
Oh, nice.
Octo. This game, I still have not beaten it yet. I think if I had put all my time into it, it'd probably be maybe lower on my list, depending on your mainly based on your review of it, saying after the second half of the game got pretty slow, and you're like, okay, I'm pretty burnt out on grinding.
Right.
But what I have played and just the systems they put in place, the music, the production quality, and the fact that this is like a true new Square Enix RPG on a Nintendo platform, I just thought it was excellent. I was so happy to have it. It just makes sense on the Switch. It looks great in handheld mode, and being able just to kind of grind out and just kind of progress through the story, because the story is not that great, but the fact that it's not that great doesn't make it hard to play in handheld mode when you're not really as in tune or focused on it.
Right.
So I find that like sitting on the couch and just playing through it and just trying to get through the story is a lot of fun for me, because I'm like, okay, I'm getting stronger and I'm moving along, but I'm not sad that I'm missing any story elements here, because there's not really any story elements.
Yeah, one great thing about that game is that you can have something else on in the background and pretty much devote the majority of your attention to it when you start getting in that grind mode, and then just knock out some levels. I'm playing Diablo 3 on my Switch right now, and that's one of the reasons I love that game.
How do you like Diablo 3? I really want to get it and play through it with somebody. I've heard excellent things about Diablo.
Oh, it's a lot of fun. It's really scratching that, like, I think Per Schneider said this on a NBC, that gauntlet itch that I didn't even know that I had, because I loved that game on 64, and then I had one on PS2 growing up. Me and my brother used to play that all the time.
Same here.
And I never played a Diablo game, so I didn't really realize that that's what that was. But it is exactly the same gameplay loop. You go, you destroy a bunch of things, you get some cool loot, then you go back to town.
Level up.
And,
put some more armor on, get some stuff, and go again.
What's really remarkable to me is that every level unlocks a new skill, and in the first 20 levels at least, a lot of that means that you get like a new button to use.
Yeah.
And so it kind of slowly introduces you. But then also, when you look at the screen when you're level 1, you're just like shooting a little arrow. It's like, choo, choo, choo.
Yeah, very basic.
Then like level 20, you're like explosions going off everywhere.
There's all kinds of crazy stuff happening.
It's pretty great. Yeah.
Your necromancer bringing people out of the ground and killing people.
Yeah, I am thoroughly enjoying that game.
Oh, I can't wait. Yeah, I that is a game that I have been waiting to pick up because, again, being a financially smart person, I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, I got to slow down on the games a little bit here.
It was $40 on Amazon last week. That's when I picked it up. So see if that deal's still going on.
That's a good deal.
Yeah.
$40 for that. It's a great game. And do you have the Ganon armor yet? Have you gotten that?
I have not. I got one Ganon. It's like a belt or something. Like one piece of it, but I haven't gotten the whole set yet.
Okay. But yeah, and so number 8 for me was Octopath. And yeah, I think what you're talking about with Diablo, it's one of those games best played on the couch with something else in the background.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me know if you get that. I'd love to play co-op sometime.
That'd be awesome.
All right, my number 7 is Pokemon Let's Go. I played Eevee, but I guess it doesn't really matter which one you get.
Dude, that's my number 7.
Oh, really?
Yeah, this is perfect.
Sweet. Man, I hadn't played a Pokemon game since X and Y, which isn't that long ago, but I bought Sun and Moon, and I returned it like a day later. I was like, you know what? I just think I'm done with Pokemon forever.
Yeah.
I'm just tired of that gameplay loop. They haven't updated enough. They haven't given you enough modern quality of life changes to warrant it. And then Let's Go came along, and you've got all the Pokemon in the open world. And one thing that sticks out in this game after playing through the entire campaign, the original 151 Pokemon are so much better as far as the animation department than the rest of the 800.
They really
crazy thing. They just it's actually cool to catch these Pokemon because they look good, rather than catching a dumpster with a freaking couple eyeballs.
Well, and maybe it's because that's what we grew up with. I want to give.
It's possible.
I want to give the 2nd gen and 3rd gen and 4th gen and 5th gen and 6th gen and however many generations they have of Pokemon now.
7 right now.
I want to give them some slack because I think whatever you do grow up with, if that was your first Pokemon game, you are a bit more attached to those games.
Sure.
But I mean, you would have to be a little bit. I don't know. You'd have to be a little bit silly to say that the 1st gen Pokemon aren't the most just well fleshed out and interesting Pokemon because you have some cool ones in 2, and then you can tell they start running out of ideas and things to do as the generations move on. You're like, okay, why is there a chandelier Pokemon? Why?
That's just silly.
It's a bunch of inanimate objects, whereas before they actually were supposed to look kind of like animals that were, monsters, or you catch these animals in the wild, whereas now it's like, okay, well, I just caught an ice cream cone, so that's exciting.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, no, I guess on top of what you're saying, but with Let's Go, you had the quality of life changes of just giving only your main Pokemon or your Eevee or Pikachu that can learn all the HMs essentially. So no more HM slaves that you have to have in your party to move around.
That's huge.
Being able to see Pokemon physically in the world, I think, was awesome. Just encountering one, be like, oh crap, there's a giant Onix in this cave right now. I'm going to go and try and catch it or avoid it because I don't want to fight any more Pokemon right now. And I think the catching mechanic also is great if you're playing in handheld mode. I tried playing on the TV screen, and while it was cool to use the Pokeball with it, I'm like, oh, this is fun. Just the motion controls are not good.
No, they're pretty bad actually. Yeah. It's really difficult to catch Pokemon that way.
But I try to just forget that part of it exists. So I played it last night on the couch also because I kind of already know the story. This one's actually a little bit different too, and I think there is something to be said for seeing the Pokemon characters you remember from the anime showing up. So Jesse, James, Brock, Misty, Team Rocket, or Meowth, Giovanni,
right?
All the Elite Four trainers. It's just really, really cool to go back through this now as a person that experienced the first Red and Blue adventure so many years ago. It's like, wow, this is cool.
Yeah, I never played Yellow growing up. I played Red. I played Blue. So
I played Red.
Okay.
So, but it's almost the same story.
Yeah.
Very similar, and we watched the show. So, all right, number 6 for you, Landry.
Red Dead Redemption 2.
Ooh,
yeah, I thought this one was going to be my favorite game of the year. I loved Red Dead Redemption. It's one of my probably 10 favorite games of all time. I do love this game. I think it's amazing. The story was great. I loved Arthur Morgan. It's just they forgot to make a fun video game in the middle of it all. It's fun. In some regards, I love the exploration aspect of it, but man, they could have just put some fast travel. I know it's 1800s and fast travel doesn't make sense in the real world,
and they want you to see everything in the game.
Yeah, and I get you spent 8 years developing this giant Western world, but God, just give me some. There's no reason that game should have been 60 hours. It should have been about 40.
Yeah.
But you spend at least 20 hours traversing that world, which is fine. I want to spend 20 hours riding the horse to go on like hunting missions and do side quests and stuff like that and look for dinosaur bones or something. But when I'm trying to get from one story beat to the next, and I think every Rockstar game has this problem, you don't need to put a 5-minute mission while you have like a dialogue, basically. Like that's their way of like advancing the story,
telling you story
and getting your like exposition in and stuff. But it's just, man, it's just boring.
I'm with you on that. Red Dead is actually my number 5, so I'll just jump ahead and we can talk about it right now. But like, it's just Red Dead for me was very. I want to get back into it, and I will finish this game, but it is certainly one that you have to be very intentional with sitting down and understanding that you're going to probably have to spend at least 4 hours or 5 hours just to make progress in that game.
Yes.
Because you're like, all right, I can't just sit down and feel like I've done something. Like, I'm going to be riding a horse for probably an hour today, and then I'm going to have to like go take care of my horse and do some mundane tasks in the meantime, and then I'll actually hit some story beats along the way. But
right.
It's it's incredible game. And I do think that Rockstar's unmatched in game design and technology and what they're able to accomplish. I think they just need some more guys on their team that are like, okay, so now that we have this amazing world, let's make it a little bit more fun to do stuff in outside of just
exactly.
You know.
And one thing that blew my mind is Rockstar previously hasn't really been known for top-notch graphic quality. In the past, they've done it's detail that's been their thing, but this is the best looking game I've ever seen, hands down.
And you're on a vanilla PS4 too.
I
right?
am, yeah.
So that's
1080p, nothing crazy.
It looks amazing. Yeah,
absolutely stunning.
I would say second to I don't know. I would say God of War is probably up there with.
God of War is definitely up there. I would say God of War takes the 2 spot for me, but they're both the best AAA games I've ever seen, and they both came out this year. So
yeah.
That's pretty great.
People have definitely figured out the PS4 like architecture and how it all works.
Certainly.
So that's cool. So for me, number 6, since we're kind of backing up for a second, mine was actually Hollow Knight.
Oh, cool.
So kind of like what you were talking about, we hit a period where we had so many Metroidvanias kind of hit back to back, and they were all excellent, which was the hard part. They were all pretty good. And I'd heard actually, so I heard Hollow Knight's soundtrack first. I was listening to some music at work, and I was like, "Oh, this is excellent! Like, what is this game music?" And it was Hollow Knight. I was like, I remember hearing something about that, and then I looked it up, and I saw that it was coming out in the next few weeks. I was like, "Oh, this is perfect timing." So I think Hollow Knight came right after I had finished part of Octopath or something, and I hadn't tried out Dead Cells yet, but it was right in between like a lot of like Metroidvanias coming out, and Hollow Knight, I think the reason I put it higher on my list is because I dedicated my time to it. I felt encouraged to finish the game all the way through. I was looking up guides a lot of the time to make sure that I wasn't missing stuff along the way, and I was kind of not getting lost. Like I would get lost sometimes and be like, okay, well I need to backtrack and figure this out. So I didn't want to. I'm very intentional about the time that I spend in a game, so I will look at a guide very quickly if I don't want to waste my time. And I'm like, okay, where am I supposed to go next? But that game was great. I think the team there did an excellent job of building that atmosphere, this whole idea of a lost bug world or kingdom, essentially, and everyone's a bug down there, and it was very like dark and sad a lot of times. Like there were some areas in that game that like I did not want to be in for very long because they were just kind of unsettling to be in. I was like, I don't want to be here.
That is definitely true.
There's I forget what it's called, but it's the one where it's almost pitch black. You need a lantern to be able to even go through there, and even still, the lantern doesn't do that much for you. And so once you get in there, there's these nasty giant like centipede or caterpillar bugs that just keep crawling like through the tunnels, and like you have to go down really quick.
Oh yeah,
so all you can hear is like, and then like later when you get down further, there's those nasty things that pop up out of the ground. They go, and they like follow you around.
Terrifying noises too, which are really great recreations.
Yeah, that one they did a pretty good job there, I think. But yeah, they did a great job of creating like this dangerous kind of scary world where you're like, oh man, like I'm this little tiny bug with this little like nail, and I have to go kill this gross sounding monster wherever it is around here somewhere.
And the game's difficult too.
It's hard.
There's quite a bit of pushback.
I would say I feel more pushback with Dead Cells than I did with Hollow Knight. Like Hollow Knight, once you leveled up enough, you felt pretty strong. There's a lot of abilities you had, whereas Dead Cells, you're like, you can still get like waxed in the first level if you don't have the right weapons or whatever. You can die pretty quick.
Maybe because I didn't jump on a strategy guide and get all the health right off the bat that I could have. I just felt like I got wrecked left and right in Hollow Knight. It was really difficult for me. I finally looked up how to get some different health orbs. I can't remember what they're called in that game.
Yeah.
But once I got a few more of those, but I went through like at least 10 to 15 hours with just the initial 3, and I could not find like that last little fragment. And geez, it was rough.
And you need it for those later game bosses. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
You have to like pause to heal, and you can't really pause very long when you're fighting a boss or a tough enemy because they're gonna come after you pretty quick. So like, yeah, I died a lot. I died a lot in that game for sure. But I think they gave you enough tools, or at least just different skills that would allow you to be able to kill them faster. So there's my number 6. Now on,
I like it,
to number 4. Right?
I still haven't given 5.
5. I'm sorry, I jumped ahead to match up with Red Dead. So
that's fair.
You go.
My number 5 is God of War. Actually.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. I love this game. It was phenomenal. I think all of the accolades it's received are very well deserved. It's probably the best example of AAA gaming on the PS4, I think. It's just, after about 14 hours, I was definitely ready for it to end, and it just kept going on for about 5 more hours. And I think that's a theme that I've just had with gaming this year, is there's just a little bit of filler in just about every game that I love, and I'm ready for video games to take the next step and get rid of that. I don't think that's what players want, is a 20-hour experience anymore.
Yeah. So I agree with you on that. I think I appreciate games that tell more concise stories now.
Right.
And this is kind of bad, but I appreciated God of War because it was a game you could beat in 20 hours, maybe a little bit more.
Yeah, I would say my playtime was 18 hours, right at 18 hours.
And there's other games that are like Red Dead that are asking 60 to 80 hours out of you, and it's like, okay, come on, man.
Yeah, that's outrageous.
Yeah.
No, God of War is fantastic. I think it will be remembered as one of the quintessential PS4 games.
For sure.
But it just, the last act, the third act of that game did not sit well with me personally. I think there are some game design flaws and some narrative flaws that everybody is willing to gloss over that just irritated me. And I was coming off of one of my favorite games, 2 of my favorite games, probably of the decade. So coming straight into God of War, and I'll talk about those later, but it just, to me, it didn't sit well with me for some reason. So
Gotcha. Well, that's fair. No, I like that idea of just games respecting, or just games developers as a whole looking at what they've made so far and saying, okay, what is in here still that's not really furthering the story at all that we could probably do without.
Right.
And that's a hard decision to make because they probably spent a lot of time making those sequences, and they're like, well, we don't want to delete this because the team worked really hard on it, so I guess we're going to put it in there somewhere. For me, my number 5 was Red Dead Redemption 2.
Very nice.
A lot of the same things that you said. I think the game is excellent. I will certainly want to try and finish the story. There's enough there for me to kind of chew on, certainly, that I could probably spend 80 hours and not even finish the story if I wanted to. But it's one of those games that I think deserves to be on everyone, at least on everyone's radar, because it has if anything, at least inspired a conversation of, do games have to be fun, and are games art, and that whole discussion of it. There's a lot of things that Rockstar did really well with Red Dead Redemption 2 that I think really are going to probably do is make future games after this think of some interesting ideas and say, okay, what do we want our game to be?
Absolutely.
Because Red Dead Redemption 2 is the first time I feel like a lot of people have looked at a game and been like, this is not necessarily fun.
Right.
But does it have to be?
And I don't think the answer has to be a yes necessarily, but
for me personally, when I play games, I want them to be kind of fun.
I would like for them to be fun too, and I think Red Dead Redemption 2 is fun. Fun is not at the front of the experience. That's definitely not what their design philosophy was going in. Like,
it's almost secondary.
It is definitely secondary, and I think that's okay.
Yeah.
The problem with Red Dead 2, to me, the reason it fell to 6 and why it's not like at a 2 or a 3 is because there's an entire act or an entire chapter of that story that's like an extra 4 hours that is completely and entirely unnecessary. And the whole second half of the game is very redundant thematically and storyline line-wise, which is, I think should be held up as like the strongest part of that game, and they kind of dropped the ball there for me.
I've heard a lot of people say that I think chapter 4 is where the game gets excellent, but it takes a while to get there. So, okay, number 4.
Number 4 for me is Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. One of my favorite games on the Wii U, got a re-release on Switch. I just love this game. I think it's one of the best 2D platformers ever made. It's so much attention to detail was brought in every facet of that game by Retro, and replaying it just got me so hyped for their next project at Nintendo, whatever it may be, whether it's this Star Fox Grand Prix or Donkey Kong Country 3. I'm totally down for
both. Those sound excellent. So
either one of those.
I'd be fine with either. Yeah.
Same here. But yeah, I Donkey Kong Country has always been one of my favorite game series, and this to me is the best one in the entire series. So,
have you seen my backlog?
Yeah, I saw that. I looked at that blog post.
This is one that I need to go back and be sure to finish, because there's like some that I have high on my list and ones I want to finish, and I think that one's like at a medium to high. Like I know I need to go back and finish it. I just know that it's pretty difficult.
Depending on, it's really not that hard, man.
Well, if I do Cranky Kong, or Funky Kong, but I want to do like legit.
It's not that hard with Donkey Kong either. You'll be fine.
All
I
right.
mean, do you play 2D platformers? Do you play like Mario and stuff like that?
Yeah, decent amount.
You'll roll through it. I mean, the only thing that's difficult is the bosses.
Yeah. The bosses are really hard sometimes. Yeah,
they are.
You're like, okay, I just have to jump on you, I guess, somehow, or hit you.
But I mean, with the items you can buy, just don't forget about those.
Yeah.
You'll breeze through it in less than 3 or 4 hours if you're already out of the first world.
Okay. All right. Thank you, man. Thank you for the encouragement. Appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Number 4 for me was Marvel's Spider-Man.
Nice. I didn't play this game. I want to so bad.
Man, I'll let you borrow it if you want to borrow it. So I had never played Spider-Man 2 on the PlayStation 2, but that was a lot of people's favorite Spider-Man or superhero game up until this one. And all I can say about this game is that it tells a moderately compelling story about Peter Parker, where you're engaged and you kind of want to know what's going on. It's very predictable, but I don't expect a superhero movie to really be, really anything out of the ordinary.
Right.
But what is there is excellent. I think Insomniac did an amazing job of telling a story and creating a world that felt fun to travel around. I mean, I felt like Spider-Man playing this game. There's a lot of unique ways you can approach combat scenarios, whether you want to be stealthy or if you want to be just all-out aggressor. But there's a lot of really cool mechanics in there and story beats, and definitely a lot of collectibles and other things to see along the way to finish the entire game. And what I loved, and kind of what you're talking about, there's not a lot of fluff. They put a ton in the game, but everything that's in the game, like the collectibles, they happen organically. You see them along the way, and they really aren't a stretch to go and get them all. It doesn't take that long at all to get everything. Like I almost 100% of the game, and I think I probably only spent about 30 hours in it.
Nice.
30 to 40 hours in it.
That's perfect.
Which is a lot. If I'm getting everything, it only took about 40 hours. I think that's pretty good. And I have nothing but great things about Spider-Man. I think it's certainly one of the best superhero games that you're going to play.
I love Insomniac. They're one of my favorite developers. I really hope Sunset Drive comes over to PlayStation at some point.
I could see it. They're not. I think Sunset Overdrive is owned by Microsoft potentially. I think they might own that IP.
They may.
But Insomniac, they made this, and did they make the Ratchet and Clank remaster? Yeah. which was also super good.
They made all the Ratchet and Clank games,
Mm-hmm.
and then Resistance was their series as well. I'm a big Insomniac fan. I like them a lot.
Wait, was Resistance them?
Pretty sure it was.
Who Killzone was?
No, Killzone was them.
But what's that developer's name? Killzone.
Man, it's another.
I should know this. Guerrilla Games.
Yes.
They made Resistance? I can't remember now. I'm going to be honest. Killzone's been also a staple of the PS or the PlayStation library. Because you had Resistance and you had Killzone. And Killzone's an old IP, so I don't think those two are the same developer. You might be right. Anybody that listens to this and actually knows that answer, let us know.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it later. All right, what was your number 4? Or did you do number 4?
Dongyong Country was number 4 for me.
Number 3.
Number 3, Super Smash Brothers.
Oh yeah.
Ultimate. I mean, this game is so freaking rad. It's just so awesome. I love everything about it. I love the museum factor of the Smash Brothers games, where you just get to see everything that Nintendo and video games has done over the past 30 years, basically.
Yeah.
They're all there, celebrated in one spot. I'm terrible at fighting games. I've gotten pretty good at Smash Brothers to where I can hold my own, but that's probably the best I'll ever be able to be, because I'm just not that good at them. But
that's the beauty of Smash, though. It's a game that is very approachable for being a fighting game.
It really is, especially, like, I prefer to play with items on. Like, 4-player Smash, that to me is like the golden spot. That's where Smash Brothers shines the best for me. That's where I get the most enjoyment out of it. But I have a lot of friends like you who like to play one-on-one, no items, and that's a lot of fun too. And you really get to learn the nuances of characters' movesets. And I really like World of Light mode because it's gotten me to play, which is the single-player campaign in Super Smash Brothers. It's gotten me to play the game differently. It's gotten me to play different ways that I never would have played before, and with different characters I wouldn't normally play with. Because my favorite character I still haven't unlocked, and I probably put about 20 hours into World of Light. So
who's your favorite character?
King K. Rool right now.
He's so awesome.
Yeah, he is freaking awesome.
Do you have all the characters in your game?
I do. Yeah, I unlocked everyone on Christmas Day, actually, with my brother.
Nice.
We got to play a few rounds together, and we finally got the last one.
The last one. That's cool. Smash Bros is my number 2, so I'll talk about it now, I guess. But excuse me, I think that this game being a legitimate on-the-go Smash experience that you can take with you to parties and just drop in a dock or just play on the actual tabletop mode is nothing short of amazing. I don't know. I mean, like when Smash Bros came to the 3DS, we all thought it was cool and it worked, but that's the only real compliment that we could give it. We just said that it worked. Like, it works, but it's not great because you're having to play with a circle pad joystick and, very, very uncomfortable control scheme. Whereas this, you can bring your Pro controller or you can play on a Switch, and for the most part, it's super comfortable no matter what way you're playing. I would not recommend playing on split Joy-Cons or just a single Joy-Con. It's terrible.
Oh, I can only imagine.
It's terrible.
I've actually never put myself through that misery before.
I tried once, and it is a nightmare. So do not do that. But this game's a true masterpiece. It is a true celebration of video games, and not just Nintendo, but other third-party IPs in there. And it's just I think it is the best party game if you are playing with people that are at least semi-capable of playing video games. It is the best party game. Like, you can't get everyone to like it, but it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, no question. It's fantastic.
For me, number 3, and this is probably your number 1, is Celeste. I thought Celeste, I had heard a lot about this game. This is one of the few games you hear a lot of excellent things about, and I went into it and played it and also felt that same way. I was like, okay, wow, they were right. This game is amazing. And really, I think what's great about just this whole story of Celeste is that it came from Matt Makes Games, the guys that made Towerfall Ascension, which is an excellent party game. Also now on Switch, I believe. And they added Madeline as a playable character on the Switch version.
Yeah, I saw that. That's pretty cool. I still haven't played Towerfall. I played it back when it was out on PC only. But
what's funny is you can see a lot of the bare bones structure that they built with Towerfall and said, hey, we have more to say in this kind of environment, or at least this kind of graphical style. I want to tell a story about this, and it's going to be a really difficult platformer, and let's try it. And it freaking worked. Like it's so good. Everything from the soundtrack to the story, the writing, the characters. I think even if you aren't really a platforming fan, you should play Celeste, because they also give you a lot of quality of life improvements that make it a more approachable game. Like it'll slow down time for you and allow you to get through segments without dying as much.
The assist mode's really cool. I haven't messed around with it much, but just from what I've read about it, this game makes you really good at other platformers too.
Yeah.
Because it gives you bite-sized challenges that you're going to fail at over and over again. But it just spurred me on to like try and get all of those. I wanted to get every strawberry. I wanted to get all the B-sides. I think there's one B-side I still have to beat. I haven't messed with the C-sides. I mean, that's crazy. So brutal.
There's some really hard ones.
I've got most of the strawberries too, but I haven't gotten all of them yet. But anyway, the game's absolutely gorgeous. The story is emotionally moving. The soundtrack's phenomenal. And the platforming and level design is just it stands up there with, Mario Brothers, Donkey Kong, anything you want to put it against. It's right up there with them as far as level design goes. Mm-hmm. And the mechanics on every level are a little bit different. There's always like some kind of level mechanic they're going to play around with, and how far they take these mechanics, it always blew my mind. That was just the first level, and then you go to the B-sides and they use those same mechanics and they just do it in like absolutely insane ways.
Yep.
And that's when I was like, holy smokes, how do you even use the same idea this many ways? It's just really remarkable, and with such a small team too.
I mean, the best compliment that we could probably say about Celeste is that their platforming design rivals Mario. I mean, like, everything is very precise, but thoughtful. There's multiple ways to solve a problem, but really you're very limited in how you're going to get through one section. And it's funny hearing you talk about it a second ago, but you're like, well, I wanted to keep trying. I wanted to keep pushing and get better and figure out how to get these different areas. And like, I think them tying in Madeline's story to this game of like overcoming anxiety and trying to climb this mountain just for herself, but also like it was a metaphorical mountain of like she's competing against herself and her alter ego, or her like what was the dark Madeline called? I don't know what she was supposed to be.
I can't remember.
It feels so long ago, because it wasn't like January or February.
January of last year, yeah.
It's so long ago.
Like this time last year, we were just getting Celeste. So
you got one of the game of the years. But yeah, I mean, I can't say enough great things about Celeste. It certainly is a game that hits a lot of good story elements, but also the gameplay just goes hand in hand with it. And it's so good.
Yeah, my game of the year for sure. It was so great. So, all right, do you want to give your number 2? Because I've only got one left now.
Sorry.
No, it's just the way it worked out.
Number 2 for me was Smash Bros. Ultimate. So
very nice. So already talked about that.
Same thing. Talked about it. You guys know how I feel about it. One thing we didn't talk about was the online. It doesn't work great, but in my experience, I'm hardwired. So being able to hop online and play against you or anybody else that's online at the time, and then use Google Hangouts or some other form that's not as bad as the voice chat app.
Voice chat definitely sucks. Man, my online experience, and I know that there are real problems, definitely. I mean, there's been enough internet backlash and enough people, like sound people saying, I'm experiencing errors to where it's indisputable. I haven't had those problems.
I haven't either, and I think it's only because we live in Chattanooga.
I agree. Yeah, I think that we're just very fortunate. I was just like, I guess that 100 Mbps is that megabits per second? Okay.
Yeah.
I always mess up those initials. Not initials, but whatever.
Yeah.
Man, I've been coasting by real smooth, but I can tell sometimes I'll play somebody and I can tell they're experiencing issues because like somebody who's clearly better than me, suddenly I'm just whipping up on them and I'm like, well, you know what? I don't feel bad. I need to increase my global smash power, and this is the only way this is going to happen. We'll
this
prey
is the
upon
only
your
way.
Weakness.
I'm sorry, but I mean, in reality, I've had no problems, and there's been a few moments where I've get in there and there's like some stutter or like a little bit of just tiny lag, but
that's online gaming, like that
doesn't affect it.
I can't play anything on my PS4 online without some. I mean, occasionally, and it's been just as occasional with Smash Brothers as anything else.
I would say with PlayStation and Xbox, it's very infrequent, especially in big titles like Call of Duty or any of the huge multiplayer games like Destiny. Like
you're right.
I don't think I ever had any instances.
My
of lag.
Problems in Rocket League when it first launched on PS4 were pretty great, actually.
Yeah, lag on Rocket League, I've definitely experienced some pretty bad.
And that's one of the only online games I really got into on PS4. And then I'm definitely in the minority here, but I played Last of Us Online and Uncharted Online a lot.
Oh gosh,
I loved Uncharted Online.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did. It was really good.
You thought you did. It's terrible. Oh my gosh. All right, that was my number 2. So number 1.
My number 1 was Celeste, but my number 2.
Oh, sorry, man. I keep skipping these.
No problem. We got a little out of order there just because we were talking about the same thing. My number 2 is Bloodborne.
Oh yeah.
It's actually the first. I bought 2 games when I bought my PS4. Bloodborne was one of them. I put it in the PS4 drive. 15 minutes later, I was driving back to GameStop, taking it back. I hated it. It was so hard. I was like, this is stupid. Who would want to play this?
This game sucks.
So it came out on PlayStation Plus, I think, in February.
Mm-hmm.
I downloaded it.
That was an amazing month because I think it was that and Ratchet and Clank. I think in the same month.
Yeah, which
an amazing month.
Incredible game. I mean, I platinumed that game back when it first came out. I love the Ratchet and Clank games.
But
anyway, Bloodborne. I'm so glad I gave it another shot. It is easily my favorite PS4 game right now. Like if I had to make a list, I guess Celeste is a PS4 game, but I think of it as a Switch game just because that's where I played it. But it's just so good, man. It's like a 3D realization of a Castlevania game.
Yeah,
and
that's pretty fair.
The difficulty is pretty steep. And when you first come into the game world, you don't realize. I didn't realize what it was. Like every death is supposed to teach you something, and I didn't. The first time, I just kept looking at all the bloodstains and trying to figure out what these people were saying, and they were all trolls back in the day.
Yeah.
But what was really cool about the PlayStation Plus relaunch, it seemed like everybody who put something down was actually telling you, like, there was a huge revival in the game, first of all, and everyone was trying to help each other out. And so I did look up guides because just sometimes figuring out where to go can be a little difficult. And there's also different game routes you can take, and the game's so hard. You want to take optimized routes so you can get better and get more experience. But once you beat that first area and really that first boss, you start to realize
the Cleric Beast, right?
The Cleric Beast is the first one. Yeah. It gives you like a really big boost. It gave me a big boost of confidence, and I was like, you know what? I can press on to the next area and figure this out. And
you get waxed.
You get waxed a couple times, and there's probably 5 instances where I lost a whole lot of experience, and I was just like so mad. I had to take like 3 days off. Yeah. Then I came back. I did everything that I did before, and then before I knew it, I was strapped up, kicking ass again, and ready to go on to the next thing. So,
what was your weapon of choice? What did you go with?
I went with the blunderbuss and I'm blanking.
Daggers, the whip, with the axe, the hammer.
And I moved. Oh, it was the cleaver.
The cleaver,
The cleaver and the blunderbuss.
Okay.
I had a whip there for a while, but that just
whip's
wasn't
too weak.
Out. Yeah,
it's too weak.
I've heard it gets really strong later on, but man, I beat the absolute crap out of that game too. Like, I put a lot of time into it. I got everything that I could. There's like all these, like, I can't remember if they're like fetuses that you have to collect to get like the final ending.
Kind of a gross game.
It's pretty gross. Yeah, definitely. If like, I got really into H.P. Lovecraft because a lot of the lore in the game is inspired by H.P. Lovecraft.
Yep.
And I was like, you know what? I've never read this author. I know he's a classic author. I know he's like one of Stephen King's big inspirations.
Yep.
So I started reading a lot of his short stories. So it was just one of those games that led me to other things that I wound up loving, and not a lot of media does that. So, I mean, I really, really loved it.
Yeah. Bloodborne, I had never played a Souls game up until Bloodborne.
I haven't played any of the Souls prior to this. So,
and people that had played Souls had told me that Bloodborne is very different in terms of how it plays, where it's a lot faster, and it doesn't feel that fast. But I think compared to a Souls game, you are rolling a lot more, and you're more the aggressor in this game than being defensive.
Right.
And to me, that clicked. I was just like, okay, like I get it. Like I just have to dodge his attacks like any other boss. But like instead of it being a main boss, anything in Bloodborne can kill you in like one hit almost. So
it's pretty much true, yeah.
So you have to treat almost every encounter like a boss battle where you're like, okay, I have to kind of be careful how I approach him. And then once you figure out their weaknesses or their tells and their counters, you start getting stronger, and you really do, like, it is probably one of the best feelings of accomplishment, kind of figuring that game out and getting stronger and progressing, because like, I know it's not easy, and like either you can be diligent and really smart and just grind it out over and over and over again from the first couple of levels and just try to level up that way, or you can be a bit more brave, and that's where that fun comes in, where you're like, okay, I'm going to push a little bit further so I can get some better experience, and then you find some disgusting abomination of a monster in a cellar somewhere that just wrecks you in one hit, and you're like, all right, I'm dead.
Yeah, but then you can go back and play that monster again, literally with the same experience points and setup, understand his attack pattern, and then just,
we'll get your experience back, get your souls back, or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Their souls back
so
first. Or
it's pretty great. I mean, the gameplay loops really fun, and the way the game's designed, where it's almost like man, what am I trying to say? It all kind of loops back on itself. There's like a central hub, and you can kind of get to all the different levels and come right back. You're never too far away from the starting point.
I never realized how, I mean, like it all, I mean, I think that's intentional, but like that entire world is very well thought out and mapped and connected. Like when you first start the game, you're actually like, when you start the game, one room behind you that you can't get into at first is like near the end of the game almost.
Yeah, absolutely.
So when you finally do get there by like looping around, essentially like, oh crap, I know where I am again now.
Right.
Like, that's crazy that I'm already back here.
I was like, holy smokes, I'm right back where I started. I did not realize that was going to happen.
So if you, and there's all kinds of cool speed runs of Bloodborne and those kinds of games where people figure out how to like jump over gates and get to areas they aren't supposed to get to yet, and like they can level up faster. It's just, there's a lot of really impressive nuances in that game, and I think I'm glad you played it.
Yes,
That's
me
awesome.
too. Another thing that I really love about it is the art style. The graphics weren't there. It looks like a PS3 game, to be frank.
It doesn't look great, but
the art style and the design of all the monsters is on point.
Yeah,
like there are some pretty horrible looking abominations in that game.
Everything's like wet and slimy and bloody and just disgusting looking.
Man, what a game! Loved it.
That's awesome. Kind of makes me want to go back and play it again, but I don't think I will.
Fair enough.
For me, number one, since I guess we're already there, God of War. I had not really spent a lot of time with the previous God of War games. I played a bit of God of War 3, and I watched my brother play the first two, and I always thought they were interesting. I was like, okay, cool, giant gods that you're just killing, and I don't know. It felt very much like a PS2 era game. And God of War, when this came out, and then there's a lot of hype around it, people saying like, oh, it's not going to be Greek mythology anymore, it's going to be Norse mythology, and there's going to be these different different aspects being added into it, and he might even have his blades of chaos or all this kind of stuff. And I could not put this game down. I just wanted to play through it. There's only a few games that have done that to me, to where like I really just, all I can think about all the time is just, I want to get back in and I want to read about it and figure this part out, and where should I go next, best armor sets, all this kind of stuff that I'm just trying to find and do in the game. But on top of that, I mean, the combat felt excellent. I think adding the axe, the Leviathan axe, was a great choice. The cinematic style of the game, where it is all one cut and you're kind of moving through the whole story, I had never seen before. I think it's one of those things you kind of underappreciate because it is so well done. Yeah. It's all just one cut. You don't really think about it, but you're like, oh yeah, there was no like loading scenes. I was just moving through this game fluidly.
That was easily one of my favorite things about that game. Yeah. And I mean, I'm a huge film buff, and I haven't studied film like at a university or anything, but I've definitely read a lot about it and techniques and stuff. And man, that was wild. Just the way they implemented that, and I can't believe they pulled it off the way they did.
You can see where they added some loadings, like Some of the parts where you're riding the boat, or
Yeah.
when you're in between like the portals and you're having to like run through like the little like
Yeah, the portals there.
space.
It's a little cheap because there's definitely a fade to black in the portal every time you go to one of those portals.
Yeah,
but
you're never not doing something on the PS4 controller. Really, like you're always pushing an input, not just putting the controller down and waiting for it to load.
Right.
But I think the story was compelling. You were interested to know kind of what this is all going to lead to, what it meant. The boss battles in this game were just over the top, just difficult and fun. And I think the extra stuff that a player that wanted to kind of get more out of the game that they put in there was worth it. Like the Valkyrie battles. Did you ever do any of those?
Yeah, I did. Like maybe 3.
Okay. So after I beat the game, I went back and got all the Valkyries and fought all the Valkyries, and that was really hard. Like those
they're
Valkyries
very difficult.
Kick your ass, and the final one was like, took a long time, but I figured out a combination that worked. I had to like switch in my runes and just figure out what combination of attacks would be the best against this particular boss, and that gave it a lot of tail end for me because I didn't, like I said, I didn't want to leave that game yet, so I was like looking for anything to kind of just keep me going in there. But once I beat that, I was like, okay. It was a finite experience. It probably took me anywhere between like 30 to 40 hours to finish this game entirely, and I gave it to somebody else, and I was done.
Yeah.
But like I had a great lasting impression, and then I think by far what I've played in 2018 is one of my favorite games.
Nice. Yeah, it definitely deserves to be. It's one of mine as well.
Oh gosh.
And I know 5's probably a little higher than most people would have put it on their list, but I still love the game. I think it's phenomenal in just about every way.
Just the story stuff for you.
Yeah, I mean, there was some real. I feel like they dropped the ball in one regard, but whatever.
Spoilers.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about spoilers, so I'm gonna leave it at that.
All right, so you're number 1.
My number 1 was Celeste, which we already talked about.
But any other things we didn't talk about, or any things you want to say specifically about Celeste? I guess.
That game had a pretty large impact on me. I didn't expect it to. I never expected a 2D game to kind of move me in any way, and I really don't ever expect video games to move me. That's not why I play them. Yeah. People say video games can be art, and I believe they are a type of art, but not usually the type of art that like gives me any kind of like emotional like pull or weight, you know. And that game did, and it might be the first game that's ever done that. The Last of Us is the other one, actually.
Right, yeah.
That game was, I cried during The Last of Us.
I'm hoping this year it comes out, man.
I hope so, too. I'm a huge Naughty Dog fan.
Can't wait.
But, man, this was a different type of emotional because, I mean, it really does deal with anxiety and depression, and it deals with it in a very realistic way. And it's a 2D sprite. Like, on your, like, how...
Yeah, there's not a lot of... emotions being conveyed through the animations. It's really just you kind of imprinting those emotions on Madeline yourself.
Right, yeah, absolutely. So, but I think a lot of it is the score, like how moving the score is, and then just the fact that you've put so much effort into beating these levels because it's one of the harder games I've ever played.
But also forgiving, which...
It's very forgiving.
Which I think makes it great because like you'll die, but you only get put back to the start of that segment. You're not getting sent all the way back to
which is one of the reasons Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze is difficult because they have checkpoints, but you're gonna have to replay large
Dead
segments
Cells is like that for me, where like if you die, all right, you're back to the beginning, play through it all again. You're like, okay, great.
Yeah, exactly. And the Metroidvania parts of Dead Cells that are supposedly supposed to help you traverse things faster.
Yeah. They don't really help that much.
They don't help at all. Yeah. Like, that doesn't help you move through the levels faster. Helps you find more gear.
I got here quicker, but that's about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, Celeste is, I think part of the reason that game is so good is because I don't know, I feel like anxiety and depression are both things that are more relevant, or at least people are aware of those today than maybe in years past, but I think it's something that we've all had to deal with at some point in our life. Especially the anxiety part for me specifically. Like, I think that's just something with being an adult and having a full-time job and responsibilities and everything else that comes with it. Like, you get anxiety from that. And then if things don't go the way you want them to, or the anxiety does take over, kind of depression goes hand in hand with that. So
right.
So you're like, oh gosh, I'm terrible.
Certainly.
And so kind of seeing Celeste and seeing that expressed in that way was really, I think, very well done.
Yes, me too. And I'm surprised it held on all year as the game of the year. I mean, I basically called it in January. I was like, this is my game of the year, and I can't believe I'm playing it in January. That's crazy. And it did. It held its number one spot. I thought God of War was going to shake it, and if the first 14 hours if it had ended then, or had like ended on that strong of a note, it would have been
better chance probably. Yeah.
Smash Brothers was close, but
yeah. But for different reasons, though,
Oh, it's so much different. It's such a different experience, and that's why numbering these is difficult.
I think all of these are, honestly. I mean, if you look at least my top 3 or 4, they're all excellent for different reasons. I mean, all of these are, but God of War was just more for it's a complete package story. Super Smash Bros. It's just the most fun you could probably have on the Switch. Celeste is the most emotionally impactful story that I have experienced this year. So there's a lot of reasons that these games are good, and I think if you picked up any of these on our top 10, you'd be pretty you'd be in a good spot. It was a good year for 2018. Well, that's it, man.
Yeah.
2018 was a hell of a year.
It was very good, indeed.
Now we do 2019 predictions next. next podcast, or what we're excited about.
I'm ready.
Well, unfortunately, guys, that is the end of our podcast. Remember, BitCast is a sort of weekly podcast that covers most things video games and pop culture. Landry, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks for having me. Anytime.
Been a lot of fun.
Yes, sir.
Be sure to go to bitbloggist.com to check out our most recent stuff, and stay tuned for our newsletter every Tuesday. Follow us on Instagram or Twitter, and be sure to send any topic suggestions to bitcast@bitbloggist.com. Until next time, this has been BitCast. Thanks for tuning in to talk about some stuff.